The Life and Sad Ending of Alan Jackson. Alan Jackson was born Alan Eugene Jackson on October 17, 1958, in Newnan, Georgia, U.S., to parents Ruth Musick and Daddy Gene Jackson. He was the youngest of the 5 children born to his parents. The Jackson family lived in a modest home. Since the family wasn't financially sound, Jackson took up odd jobs such as working at a shoe store, at the tender age of 12. At the same time, he even pursued his education from local Street Elm Elementary and Newnan High School. Jackson was introduced to music in his childhood days through the gospel. He continued listening to such divine songs even as a youngster, and hardly paid attention to any other form of music. Jackson was later influenced by famous American country singers such as John Anderson and Gene Watson. This form of music, which was recommended to him by a friend, inspired Jackson to pursue a career in the field of music. In Tennessee, Jackson got his first job in the Nashville Network's mailroom. His wife Denise was a flight attendant. While working, she came in contact with Glenn Campbell and requested advice for her husband. Campbell handed her his business card of his manager and told her to call, which helped jumpstart his career. Jackson eventually signed with Arista, and in 1989, he became the first artist signed to the newly formed Arista Nashville branch of Arista Records. Arista released Jackson's debut single, Blue-Blooded Woman, in late 1989. Although the song failed to reach the top 40 on Hot Country Songs, he reached number 3 by early 1990 with Here in the Real World. This song served as the title track to his debut studio album, Here in the Real World, which also included 2 more top 5 hits and his first number 1, I'd Love You All Over Again. The early 1990s saw the release of Jackson's second album. Don't Rock the Jukebox was the title of Jackson's second album. Released in 1991, it included 4 number 1 singles, the title track, Someday, Dallas and Love's Got a Hold on You, and the number 3 Midnight in Montgomery. Jackson also co-wrote several songs on Randy Travis' 1991 album High Lonesome. Jackson's third album and one of his most acclaimed works were A Lot About Livin'. Songs of this album such as She's Got the Rhythm, which were also co-written by musician Randy Travis, were well received by music lovers and critics alike. Jackson also won an award for this work in 1994. The year 1994 was one of the most eventful periods of Jackson's career. Not only did his fourth album, Who I Am, release during this time, but Jackson was also appreciated for his writing skills. The song, If I Could Make a Living, which he had co-written, earned the top spot in a popular music countdown. Chattahoochee also won him the 1994 Country Music Association Awards for Single and Song of the Year. In 1994, Jackson left his management company, 1010 Management, which had overseen his career up to that point, and switched to Gary Overton. The Greatest Hits collection was released on October 24, 1995. The disc contained 17 hits, 2 newly recorded songs, and the song Home from Here in the Real World that had never been released as a single. These first 2 songs both made number 1. Everything I Love followed in 1996. Its first single, the Tom T. Hall penned Little Bitty, took Jackson to the top of the charts in late 1996. The album also included the number 1 hit There Goes and a number 2 cover of Charlie McClain's 1980 single Who's Cheatin' Who. The album's 5th single was A House with No Curtains, which became his first release in 1989 to miss the top 10. 1998's High Mileage was led off by the number 4 I'll Go On Loving You. After it came the album's only number 1 hit, Right on the Money, co-written by Phil Vassar and Charlie Black. Under the Influence was his next album, which released in 1999. Even at a time when country music was heavily influenced by rock music, Allen resorted to the traditional country style with the album. After country music changed toward pop music in the 1990s and 2000s, he and George Strait criticized the state of country music in the song Murder on Music Row. The song sparked debate in the country music community about whether traditional country music was actually dead or not. After the September 11, 2001 attacks, Jackson released Where Were You as a tribute to those killed in the 9/11 terrorist attacks. Jackson had debuted the song at the 2001 CMA Awards and his performance was generally considered the highlight of the show. Jackson's album titled, Let It Be Christmas, themed on the famous festival, was released in 2002. The next year saw the release of the song, Timeless and True Love, a duet for which he had collaborated with famous singer Jeannie Kendall. Jeannie Kendall contacted Jackson to do a duet, and he suggested the song Timeless and True Love. The song appeared on her first solo album, released in 2003. In early 2006, Jackson released his first gospel music album entitled Precious Memories. He put together the album at the request of his mother, who enjoyed religious music. Jackson considered this album a side project and nothing too official, but it was ultimately treated as such. More than 1.8 million units were eventually sold. Just a few months later, Jackson released his next album, Like Red on a Rose. Originally intended to be a bluegrass album, Like Red on a Rose had a different producer and sound. Keith Stegall was notably absent from this album and instead, Alison Krauss took over the producing reins. Although critically acclaimed, the album was considered a commercial disappointment for the singer. For his next album, he went back to his country roots. Good Time was released on March 4, 2008. The album's first single, Small Town Southern Man, was released to radio on November 19, 2007. Country Boy, Good Time, Sissy's Song and I Still Like Bologna were also released as singles. Sissy's Song is dedicated to a longtime friend of the Jackson family who worked in their house every day. Fitzgerald was killed in a motorcycle accident in mid-2007. His 16th studio album, Freight Train, was released on March 30, 2010. The first single was It's Just That Way, which debuted at number 50 in January 2010. Hard Hat and a Hammer is the album's second single, released in May 2010. On November 23, 2010, Jackson released another greatest hits package, entitled 34 Number Ones, which features a cover of the Johnny Cash hit Ring of Fire, as well as the duet with Zac Brown Band, As She's Walking Away. On January 20, 2011, Sony Music Nashville announced that Jackson and his Sony-owned record label, Arista Nashville, had parted. In March of that year, Jackson announced his new deal with Capitol's EMI Records Nashville. It was a joint venture between ACR and Capitol. All records were to be released and marketed through Capitol's EMI Records Nashville label. In 2012, Jackson released the album 30 Miles West. 3 singles have been released from the album, Long Way to Go, So You Don't Have to Love Me Anymore and You Go Your Way. None of the singles reached the top 20. A tour in 2013 supported the album. Jackson released his second gospel album, Precious Memories Volume 2, on March 26, 2013. Later that same year, Jackson released his first bluegrass album, simply titled The Bluegrass Album. 2 singles were released from the album, Blue Ridge Mountain Song and Blacktop. The album eventually peaked at number 1 on the Billboard Top Bluegrass Albums chart and number 3 on the country chart. In 2014, Jackson recorded the opening credits song, A Million Ways to Die, for the film A Million Ways to Die in the West, co-writing the song with Seth MacFarlane and Joel McNeely. In August 2014, the Country Music Hall of Fame opened an exhibit celebrating Jackson's 25 years in the music industry. It was also announced that he was an artist in residency as well, performing shows on October 8 and 22. The exhibit highlights the different milestones in his career with memorabilia collected over the years. His 25th anniversary Keeping It Country Tour began on January 8, 2015, in Estero, Florida. In January 2015, Jackson began his 25th anniversary Keepin' It Country Tour, followed in April with the announcement of his 20th studio album, Angels and Alcohol, which was released on July 17. In 2016, Jackson was selected as one of 30 artists to perform on Forever Country, a mashup track of Take Me Home, Country Roads, On the Road Again and I Will Always Love You, which celebrates 50 years of the CMA Awards. In 2016 and 2017, Jackson extended his Keepin' It Country tour with American Idol alumnus Lauren Alaina. In August 2016, Legacy Recordings released the collection Genuine, the Alan Jackson story digitally and on 3 CDs with 59 tracks including 8 previously unreleased tracks. In October 2017, Alan Jackson released a new song titled The Older I Get for a planned future studio album. He also won many achievements throughout his career. Jackson was nominated for a total of 6 Country Music Association awards in 1989. He was nominated for 4 1994 CMAs, including Entertainer of the Year. Jackson became a member of the Grand Ole Opry in 1991. He was inducted by Roy Acuff and Randy Travis. Jackson was the most nominated artist at the 29th annual TNN Music City News Country Awards that was broadcast June 5 from the Grand Ole Opry House. His 6 nominations included Best Entertainer, Male Artist, Vocal Collaboration, Album, Single, and Video. At the 2002 CMAs, Jackson set a record for having the most nominations in a single year, 10, many rising from the song Where Were You? It also brought his career total up to the second number of most nominations ever, after George Strait. Where Were You also was nominated for a Grammy for Song of the Year. The song was also subsequently parodied in the South Park episode A Ladder to Heaven. At the 2003 Academy of Country Music Awards, Jackson won Album of the Year for Drive and Video of the Year for the video to Drive. In 2004, a 5-mile stretch of Interstate 85 through Jackson's hometown of Newnan has renamed the Alan Jackson Highway in the singer's honor. After learning of the honor, he stated was a great place to grow up. I am not sure I am quite qualified for the main highway. Maybe they should have picked a dirt road or something. Jackson was inducted into the Georgia Music Hall of Fame on October 22, 2001, in Atlanta. Alan Jackson was selected to receive a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in 2010. In 2017, Alan Jackson was inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame. In personal life, Jackson married his high school sweetheart, Denise Jackson, on December 15, 1979. They have 3 daughters, Maddie Denise Selectman, Alexandra Jane Alley, and Donnie Grace. Although the couple separated for several months in 1998 due to the strains of Jackson's career as well as his infidelity, they have since reconciled. Their story is referenced in several of Jackson's songs, including She Likes It Too and Remember When, based on his memories, and the fond views of everlasting love between his wife and him. Denise and their daughters appear in the latter song's video. Denise Jackson wrote a book that topped the New York Times bestseller list about her life with Jackson, their relationship, their separation over his infidelity and recommitment to each other, and her commitment to Christianity. The book, It's All About Him, Finding the Love of My Life, was published in 2007. In May 2008 she released a gift book titled The Road Home. In June 2009, Jackson listed his 135-acre estate just outside Franklin, Tennessee, for sale, asking $38 million. The property sold in late May 2010 for $28 million, one of the highest prices ever for a home sale in the Nashville area. In 2010, after Jackson moved his estate just outside Franklin, the singer then moved into a home in the same Nashville suburb. The singer and his wife paid $3.675 million for the estate in June 2010, but less than a year later they listed the home for $3.995 million. Probably, right now is his worst time when his health is slowly deteriorating. Thank you for listening to the story about the life of Alan Jackson. Like and comment on your opinion in the comments section below.